now.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. We were just discussing how freaking cold it is in here. And clearly that also matters. Just letting you know. Stu, top story.
This is why we root for global warming on this network. Top story is the incredibly Hispanic Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, his name is Robert
Francis O'Rourke.
Yes. All right, Jason.
More Khashoggi news. I know we've been talking about this a lot this week, but it just keeps getting crazier and crazier as this goes along. And I've also thought about a little bit how we can respond and some maybe moves that we can make if it in turn find out that the Saudis were responsible for this.
Okay. And once again, Andrew Heaton.
Hello. I'm still here. I haven't figured my way out of the parking lot yet. I need to get it validated, so I've just been glad I have all these blazers that I found. I am going to reach out to the many viewers in Canada and let them know that they're free to buy weed now. It's now legal there.
We do have a very large Canadian fan base.
I thought about coming to the Canadian Bureau.
It's mainly because I'm a Canadian sports celebrity.
That's true.
Not everyone knows that. That's true.
A lot to get to. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is there when you really, really are in dire need of food. So if your wife goes out of town and you can't cook, and is that not?
No, I don't think.
What if we're hopelessly single? Would this also benefit me?
Yes. If you're living in Bachelor City,
I'm
you
just
got
eating
your
pizza
bachelor
over the
pad.
sink because I don't know where to get a trash can. So this would be very helpful to me.
Yes. So, but in all seriousness, we just had that hurricane in Dallas. It feels like it's not going to stop raining ever. And there's some flooding that's gone along with that. But, you think about hurricanes, it's flooding, you lose power, you don't have a refrigerator anymore, you don't have food that's available. So what do you do?
The other thing with My Patriot Supply, too, is it has the Glenn side of it. Like, I'm a prepper and I'm going to get all this stuff, and then it has the me side of it, which is like, maybe if I have a couple packs of soy sauce, I'm like pretty happy with myself for preparation-wise. This, you could knock it out, one quick call. You knock out 95% of all emergencies with this 2-week pack that they have. And you'll have it there. Hopefully, you never even need to open it. But when you do, it actually tastes good, which is kind of a nice benefit too.
Yeah, and the cost is amazing. So right now, you can go to preparewithnews.com, and you can get, like Stu said, 2 weeks of emergency food supply. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. $75. That's cheaper than taking the family out for one night out to eat. So go to preparewithnews.com. All right, Stu. Robert Francis O'Rourke and Ted Cruz had a debate.
Raphael Cruz.
Sorry, Raphael.
Yes, neither one of them use their actual names, which is it makes a lot of sense with politicians. Yes. But yes, Ted Cruz and Robert Francis O'Rourke went at it. Maybe we start with the Spanish clip? Can we start there because this is I just can't take it.
I wanted to bang my head against a wall.
It's so funny because in reality, Ted Cruz is named Ted because partially to separate himself from his father, who is very active in politics as well, but partially just because, Ted is like a thing that people in Texas are named, right?
Isn't it just a nickname for Edward?
Yes.
Am I off base?
Yeah, it's Raphael Edward Cruz, right?
Teddy Roosevelt was probably Edward Roosevelt?
Right, but Raphael is his first name.
Right.
Most people get called by, their first name. And it's like, okay, well, he took it and he uses Edward and named it Ted. And again, who cares, right? On the other side is Beto, which is, his name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. And there's an element of people use these things for the demographic they're going for, right? You're a politician in Texas, Ted's probably really workable. Unless you're a Democrat in Texas, then Beto's much better than Robert Francis O'Rourke. Here is Robert Francis O'Rourke giving a little bit taste of his Spanish.
First, Jason, let me thank you and Sarah for moderating tonight's debate. Ken's 5 for hosting us, the people of San Antonio for being here, and the people of Texas for watching this and participating in one of the most important decisions of our lifetimes. Es un honor estar aquí con ustedes otra vez aquí en San Antonio.
Now, people are saying that's pandering. I disagray. I think it just slipped into it. This is what he's like at home. He's constantly just talking in both languages.
He's set a standard now. I think he needs to do a different language every debate. Like if he does it every time, we're like, that guy's multilingual. We should elect him. He can go he can be talk to the other folks.
When you're that Hispanic, this flows.
Yes,
it's out of your pores.
He's more than 100% Hispanic, I believe. And I think we both noticed this. The other thing too, the first thing I could notice is just he was so shiny. Why was he so shiny? He was the most shiny person I've ever seen on television.
They had to have had a makeup person that went to powder him, and he said, no,
right.
no. I need to remain shiny.
Or maybe he said yes, but he said it in Spanish and they didn't understand. That could have been it
He
as
said
well.
C, and they were like,
He reminds me of the Shooter McGavin of politics right now.
Yeah.
It's like he's all like talking about how great the water is, and that's what's making everybody. But behind closed doors and the camera's off, he hates old people and he's kicking dogs. We know it.
So I'm new to Texas. I got my voter registration. I am going to be voting.
Good.
I am an independent, and I bend no knee for man nor party. So I don't know how I'm going to vote, and it's not like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. Like I don't know these candidates well enough yet. So like I've not completed watching this, but I want to watch it and kind of see. I gather that you all are not on Team Beto.
But here's a question for you. So do you like democratic socialism?
Not a big fan.
Okay, so Beto's probably not your guy. Okay.
Although I also want to throw out, like I watched this, they didn't let in a libertarian, which I have to say, I'm incredibly disappointed with the parties of Texas in terms of Democrats, Republicans. I wish they were in favor of competitive elections and actual democracy. And
Texas is
they're
not good on that issue.
No.
I mean, Texas is, I think, good on most issues. I'm a huge fan of the state, and I never want to leave it. I don't even want to go out for like a visit to anyone. But like,
big enough, you could do that.
I can kind of just.
Yeah, you're kind of the same.
But they are not good with the second. It's hard to get on the ballots. It's not. They don't make it easy, which is a real shame. I mean, why not give people choices? I'm a big fan of what they did in Maine with the ranked choice voting.
That's a great thing.
Which I think is hopefully they're testing it there and it does well and people like it, because that's a real solution to this. You could vote for your top choice and not feel like, oh, I'm letting down the candidate has the chance to win. I think that
they do that in France too. Although we shouldn't tell Texas. I don't feel like France would be a good exemplar for the state of Texas.
So what stood out to you in the?
We don't want Le Pen to be winning. Let me give you this one clip. This is one of the amazing things, because O'Rourke really is a national celebrity for no discernible reason. He's made a couple of good viral videos that have gone out there, and he's raised almost all of his money from outside of the state. He's become a national figure.
He skateboards.
He does skateboard through Whataburger. We did learn that at one point. There's a lot of other Republican candidates have great stories too that are younger or have more engaged. I mean, his story was he was in a band and then he got into politics, and he's been in politics for a long time, and now he's in Congress, and he's younger and good looking, I guess, and like people. No. Okay, I'll leave that one up to you.
Can I ask again, too? Me being from Oklahoma, at least a few years ago, Democrats in Oklahoma were functionally a third party. Because like an Oklahoma Democrat was, when I was there, was about like a Maine Republican. Is that the same in Texas, or does it vary? If he's a Bernie Sanders type guy, he would not fit that bill.
No, he really is far. The last couple of elections, this is with Wendy Murphy, wasn't it? Wendy Murphy, the last one.
Wendy Davis.
Wendy Davis. That's Wendy Davis. As I'm thinking of somebody else. Wendy Davis ran, and she was like a very hard. Her big issue was she was super duper pro choice, and she was kind of famous for a big protest that she did. And they've been running these candidates that are pretty super far left lately. I guess they're just they're playing demographics, and it does help them raise a lot of money. So I think like part of the charm of Beto or Robert Francis O'Rourke to the rest of the country is here's this guy in Texas, and he sounds like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but he's saying it in Texas. I mean, it's brave, and there's something.
He is marketing it a little bit differently.
He is definitely.
He's not saying I'm a democratic socialist. I want all these things that Ocasio-Cortez wants. But if you really look at what his platform is,
he did sign on to Bernie Sanders' healthcare plan,
Medicare for all,
which is
not
even if you're for that kind of thing, it's way the math doesn't add up very well.
But he has done a good job of disguising where he really stands with that.
And he's taken a bit of a page from the Trump playbook, which is he's jumped into some of these cultural divides on the side that the left likes. For example, the kneeling thing. His most famous moment was a viral video about him talking about how it's okay to kneel in football, which, by the way, government has absolutely nothing to do with it and should have absolutely nothing. I should never hear a freaking word from any government official about sports. I don't ever want to hear it. I love sports. I never want to hear a word from any of them about it. But I mean, it helps you raise money. So really the thing he's known for, his entire story, is he was able to raise a lot of money. $38 million this last quarter, the all-time record for any senator at any time for a quarter. Now that's a huge number. The bad news about that is he beat Rick Lazio in New York, who also raised a lot of money and then got his butt kicked by Hillary Clinton. So it's not necessarily leads to wins, but it's a huge number. It's really impressive. He's out raising Cruz like crazy. which is why this next clip is just drove me nuts. It's Beto talking about Cruz and corporate interests.
And for Senator Cruz to say that this isn't going to bust the budget at a time of $21 trillion in debt, when we're on track to deficit spend to the tune of $1 trillion a year, he voted to add $2 trillion. And those tax cuts disproportionately will flow to corporations who are already sitting on record piles of cash and the already wealthy in a country that is riven with income inequality unseen since the last Gilded Age. Why? In the days just before and just after that vote, Senator Cruz accepted $120,000 from the political action committees who represent the corporate interests that benefited from this tax cut. Why does he vote for this? Why does he vote for internet companies to sell your private browsing data to the highest bidder without your consent? Why does he not vote for universal background checks in a country that loses 30,000 people to gun violence every year? Follow the money. In each of these cases, if you look at the Political Action Committee contributions to Senator Cruz, it helps to explain the reasons for his vote and how corrupted Congress has become.
So, the idea that Ted Cruz is supporting gun rights or lower taxes over $150,000
he was really on the fence on that one.
Yeah, I know. It was not a
no one knew where it was going to come down.
Right, like there's a chicken and egg situation here, right? Like people who want low taxes donate to Ted Cruz because he's been for low taxes for a very long time. These are not surprising issues. The idiocy of acting as if the NRA, a donation from the NRA or some PAC associated with the NRA is making Ted Cruz become pro-gun is nuts. He's been pro-gun ever since he's been in the public eye, ever since he was a child. I mean, if you look at his life story. But beyond this, like, there's this weird thing that goes on with money in politics that drives me crazy. And it's this idea that who is responsible and what is the role of everybody else talking about how you spend your own money. If you have money and you want to spend it on political speech, that is 100% your right. It is, I think, a very clear example of what the founders intended, which is you get to do with your money. When it comes to political speech, we're never going to censor you. And the idea that some billionaire can't spend all the billions he wants to on political races, to me, it feels wrong. I can understand how people say, well, they're buying elections, but it's up to us to vote. We are the ones doing it. And it's the same thing in Congress. If the NRA tomorrow somehow finds a way with our current laws, which I think are completely unconstitutional when it comes to campaign finance reform, but if they come in and they decide to give Ted Cruz $700 billion tomorrow, let's just say they come up with it, it's up to Ted Cruz to vote how Ted Cruz believes is right, and then we have a chance to vote him out of office. It is their responsibility. Lobbyists can't cast votes. I don't care how many you have. It's an annoying world.
I have to bring up Presidents Gingrich and Romney purchasing the elections.
Right? Yes, yeah, they did.
They had billionaire backing and they won.
Yeah. Wait, we'll get back to that in just a minute. I have some news to break to you. But the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Like, Hillary Clinton outspent Trump by gobs and gobs and gobs.
Trump underspent virtually every Republican. I think he did underspent every single Republican at the moment you do the data at. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, this is not about money. You can't buy elections in this country. Yes, you can get yourself on TV. If you're an unknown, you can get yourself to being known. But I mean, in a lot of ways, that's antiquated, right? Like, these races are all super high profile. These people are in your face all the time. The news and politics are in our face all the time. You can be aware of who a good candidate is. And regardless of this, it is my money. If I want to waste it so that Beto O'Rourke can run another stupid ad so he can lose by 6 points instead of 7, that is my right as an American citizen.
And those ads are everywhere.
And now they are.
Like, I have YouTube. There are commercials on YouTube. You know those annoying things that pop up in the middle of a cat video? Like, all of a sudden Beto will show up in the middle of a cat video.
How many cat videos you watch?
He watches a lot of cat videos. That is one of them. It is a lot of cat videos, by the way. We should
in the debate they talked about. They hinted at campaign finance law. Like Beto said that he was not taking any money from PACs, and Cruz rightly pointed out that PACs are still operating on it. That's the whole point of PACs.
Right.
The whole point of PACs is that
you can say
they're pushing it, and that's exactly, and that's one of the major unintended side effects of the McCain-Feingold legislation that happened was that rather than having one campaign actually determining the messaging or hopefully keeping it civil and honest, is no longer able to do that. Now there's all these aggregate things that are working autonomously and independently. Right. And then the other thing is, I think the more you restrict that campaign spending, the more you're going to get Donald Trumps and people that know how to game the media, because you can go get media attention. That's not hard to do. You do it by saying crazy stuff and mean stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have more
or being a big celebrity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like it incentivizes campaigns or parties to try to run celebrities because you can get so much free media. It's just not right. Like trying to micromanage people's political speech, I thought we all agreed was a bad thing in this country. I really did. And you see the way that, and I'm sure Beto, if you asked him about it, would tell you how evil the Citizens United ruling was, which was, it wasn't even a ruling. It was just telling you it was in the Constitution. Like it was not a new thing. These are very basic ideas, and we're still totally on the wrong side of this. All of these campaign finance laws are terrible. They're every one of them is unconstitutional. When you're trying to micromanage how someone spends their money on political speech, it's like a fundamental thing we were trying to do in this country to make sure people were able to speak their mind and and use their resources, whether it's their time, whether it's their speech, their credibility, their money, all of these things, as they want to when it comes to political speech. And the fact that we still micromanage that is an embarrassment.
Yeah. I want to get to Khashoggi, but let's take a break real quick before we get into
So can we just agree? Are we going Khashoggi or Khashoggi? Because
Khashoggi,
I
right?
keep hearing Khashoggi. I heard Khashoggi. I heard it on CNN today. Khashoggi.
Oh, well, that was your first mistake.
Well, yes.
A lot of crazy stuff going on with Saudi Arabia, but before we get into all of that, I want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. I'm pretty sure that I have one on the way in the mail, and I'm
Why do you have one? Is this
super
the laser
excited
gun?
about it. Yes, it's the laser gun.
I want one. Why don't I get one?
Well,
Why do you get one and I don't get one? I don't understand. I
got
want all
shaky
the
hands.
things that everyone else has. Yeah, that's true.
Well, first of all, you could go on the website and pay for it too.
I love that idea.
Okay.
I mean, can I use your card?
No, it's just expensive.
Okay, yeah, good idea.
So, Jason, you could probably speak to this the most because you are a firm believer in iTarget Pro. You've used it extensively.
Yeah, we actually I did a little class here that we did.
Yeah, we're playing it right now. Those of you watching on TV.
Yeah, it's such a cool product. So basically, what it is it uses your existing handgun. And it comes with like multiple different calibers, but it's got like a little thing in the back where the firing pin hits the round, and that pushes this little laser that shows up on a target. And you get the app, and it'll show us if you're like used to dry firing, if you can either go to the range and improve your skills, or you can dry fire in your home. So basically, it makes it to where you're not you're doing proper trigger control, you're not squeezing it and moving. It's extremely important to maintain your skills.
Also pretty boring.
It can be, yeah, it can be. Unless you're putting we used to put a penny or a dime on the end, and if it fell off, that means you're doing it. That's the way our granddads did it. But no longer with iTarget Pro. Now we got lasers and stuff, freaking laser beams. So what you do is you set up your target. I do this with my kids. You set up your target. You can go all the way across the room, and you can even make it into a game. You're practicing your skills, and you can make it into a game. I've also helped my kids to teach them how profit firearm safety as well.
Yeah.
It's just a cool product.
Yeah, so you can save 10% right now with offer code NEWS. Go to itargetpro.com. I'm so pumped to get mine. All right, Jason, the latest on Khashoggi.
I'm getting kind of like PTSD from the Kavanaugh stuff. Because when I think it's not going to get crazier, then the next day happens and it gets crazier. But now, so the latest news, and I'm having a hard time even keeping up with all this, but we knew that there was a supposedly video and audio. I have my doubts in the video. Ultimately, this comes down to whether is Turkey lying or not. I mean, they definitely have a dog in the game. Imagine that, right?
I wonder.
They would never.
They would have no motivation.
So supposedly, this is the audio has leaked to Sabah newspaper, which is also online media
hope that guy's
publication.
okay.
And I know.
Yeah, like get to the U.S. consulate pronto, buddy.
Right. But supposedly they have it, but they haven't released it yet. I don't know if it's probably under order, or it doesn't exist, or who knows what. Maybe they're writing a big expose on it. But supposedly the contents in that detail a 7-minute long torture session and execution. 7 minutes long. They say the audio picks up to where you hear him being dragged out of the consular's office, the main office. You also hear the consular saying, hey, you guys, don't do that in here. You're going to get me in trouble. And then the guy that's doing the execution says, if you want to live, you'll sit down and shut up, basically. Then it goes on. There's also apparently a witness that heard the screams coming from. But it took 7 minutes to when they finally, they said they could hear them injecting him with something so that the screams stopped. And they continued to dismember him after that.
Oh, God.
The most horrific thing ever.
And here's my question, though, is all I've heard is speculation that the audio would have come from his Apple Watch. Is that right? Because what? I mean, where are they going to get audio? Like, who's going to record that?
Okay, so that's rumor that he pressed record on his Apple Watch when he walked in, and then that went to the cloud, and then he did give his, I guess, of his phone or whatever to a
his
Turkish.
fiance, I thought.
Was that who it was, and she was supposed to take it to a Turkish official that he knew, or something like that. Something like that. It's either that or I don't know how much I can say about this on the air.
Oh.
But there are multiple ways, one specific, that you can get video and audio that most nation states use against every embassy in the world. It's very, but most nation states in their embassies have safeguards against that, countermeasures. But it's possible the Saudi consulate didn't have that. But every single one of them is under this type of surveillance.
Okay,
so this is very, very possible.
You mean like maybe we bugged their consulate, or
not us, but the Turks were probably using some kind of surveillance.
And then they released it in that case.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, because the Apple Watch thing had me stumped. I read an article about just the safeguards in place that most embassies have that would prevent the Apple Watch from being the audio leak. So, just the radio frequencies and all of that. So I was a little bit confused as to how they would have audio, but what you just said makes a lot more sense, I think.
It could be either or, but
this is one of the things I think is weird about this is we keep getting all these details with no, like, we never,
It's like from Turkish officials,
like
right?
3 days ago, I think it was, CNN came out and said the Saudis are going to come out and they're going to admit this was an interrogation gone wrong. They still have not admitted it. All of this is reports. It seems to almost all of them come from Turkish officials, which they're incentivized to say bad things about the Saudis. I'm not saying the Saudis are good; they're not. But it is I feel like there's no reason for us in this particular situation to rush to judgment. Again, complete guess. Think this stuff probably does go down because it just seems like it does. But I mean, outside of hearing a few reports from here and there, and this guy not being around anymore, we don't know what happened yet. And it's unlike a situation where there's a terrorist is planning an attack or there's a nuclear possibility or whatever it is. This is one where they're really bad, and we may put sanctions on them. We may not. But there's not an impending additional danger to the United States of America because of this. If they did something wrong, we need to take steps to show how much we don't like it, I think. But that's really, this is not one where we need to rush to do something drastic. We just have to make sure that we try to get to the bottom of it. I mean, again, more facts better than less facts.
Assuming that it does come out, that it was true, what do you think that the ramifications will be?
See, Glenn asked me something similar yesterday, and I thought about it for a while. The problem is we really need the Saudis. We really need the Saudis for multiple.
We don't really get our oil from there anymore. We get it from South America.
True, but we rely on the Saudis to help regulate the markets. So, which they play a very big role in that. So, and I'll get more on that in a second. But also, I mean, economically, we'll take a hit on this as well. They account for about almost 20% of that's how much military equipment we sell to them. So about 20% of how much money, the billions and billions of dollars we make on global arms sales.
I think we should knock that off.
So yes.
Our Lockheed Martin's doing fine. It can take a 20% hit. It's going to make new flying jets and flying tanks and whatnot. We'll just cut off a despotic, theocratic autocracy from arms sales.
Do we have flying tanks? Is that a?
It should be a thing. If it's not,
I'm sure there would. I'm with you.
Strapping a blimp to a tank and then billing the American people for $40 billion.
But there's other reasons too. Like they are a significant check to Iran. So they're part of like not only them, but it's not just the Saudis. It's also the rest of the Gulf kingdoms around there that are all basically one and all allied with each other. We rely on them to help contain Iran. Not only that, but the other multiple jihadist groups that are in the area. So it's good to have, I don't want to say friendly, but convenient relationship with the Saudis. But one thing is we can't just go around throwing out sanctions because that they have levers that they can use to hurt us as well. This is what I would do.
Hold on. We're gonna tease this.
Oh.
What Jason is going to do.
He's gonna fix the problem.
You may hear that later on in the show.
Path forward.
We'll be right back.
You're going to drop flying tanks on the market.
Yeah.
You are.
Blimp tanks.
Blimp tanks.
Copyright Andrew Heaton.
So much that we still have to get into. I know Jason was about to go down some sort of a rabbit hole.
We'll have to blow some minds.
Are you?
Now the clock is.
So we've got that still to come on Khashoggi. Khashoggi. And then we still have not even talked about Canada and the legalization
marijuana.
of marijuana.
Out today, you can buy it there.
Can we open up a Canadian embassy in the studio?
I'm 100% for this. I think this is a brilliant idea.
And if you haven't done so yet, remember to go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to the show, The News and Why It Matters, and rate us. But rate us like 5 stars, no less than 5 stars. We will not accept anything
more
less than 5 stars.
That's okay. You go to 6 or 7 stars.
Steal your grandma's phone, rate it on her phone.
Do it for her. She's not going to know how.
That's the point.
Do it overtime.